Welcome back, everyone. Many of you will know that around 6 to 12 months ago, I provided my thoughts in video form on a bunch of uranium stocks. So here we are towards the end of 2019, and some things have changed or some new thoughts on things. So today's video is going to be updates on some of those videos. So again, these are just updates and changes. Some I'm slightly feel kind of more bullish, some are more bearish, some the prices changed relative to others, so I have different thoughts. And that's what this video is going to be about. Most of them are fairly the same, so it's just relative thoughts and not too much to be said on each. And no order other than alphabetical order here, so don't take anything by that order. Start with Bannerman. Now, since my last video, I have been a buyer of Bannerman. And if you're following the channel, you probably know that. But why have I been a buyer? Well, as I look at it and as I look at the options out there, I mainly start thinking that the NAV at 75 bucks might not be the whole picture for Bannerman, because I see it as a project that might have strategic appeal. And if we get to a point where you need all of the developer projects, especially the definitively proven ones, well, then pretty much everyone's going to hedge most of their costs anyway, and so Bannerman would only go into production if, the price made sense for them and they hedge it anyway. So there's that. And on line with my previous thought, I think that they are one of a few projects that might deserve a premium to NAV because of their size. So if you're looking at Bannerman in terms of, okay, well, what is the tactical reason why this versus something else? Well, yes, they may be able to finance an offtake if they go into production, but I really think that this is one of the projects out there that might be more so valued as a extract resources 2.0. In that, yes, they're smaller than extract, but they are more proven. And so if we get to a security of supply, if some big sovereign power is looking for a big mine, I think that's Bannerman's upside. So deep yellow. Last time I kind of sounded like I would want to buy it if the price made sense, but I thought that it had a bit of a premium valuation to its peers based off of John Borshoff's reputation. Now, John Borshoff has built mines, has a reputation. I'm not going to argue with that. He's clearly has succeeded in that way. I do disagree with him and on when he thinks uranium's move. Maybe he's just saying that it's not really what he thinks, maybe not. But either way, I disagree, and I am not sure that even if he's right, that his company would be the one to own at this point. So I still think that even though prices have gone down across the place, across the sector, even though deep yellow has gone down with them, I still think they're kind of overvalued relative to peers. So everything is relative to peers. So why is that? Well, I still think there's a fair amount of hope and memory priced into the stock. Now, obviously, again, if you look across the space, there's very few mine builders. John Borshoff is one, but I'm still more cautious on this one. EnCore Energy, I'm still in this one. I know everyone seems to hate whenever a company raises money, but sometimes you look back at when a company raised money and you think, wow, that sure was a good time to raise money. And in this case, that's the case. Now, the fear, now that they have raised money, though, the fear of dilution is diminished because that was their main question. And so I think that the relative value here has actually increased relative to the rest of the sector because they have that cash. Now, they didn't raise tons, but they raised enough so that they're good for a few years probably. And so if the land grab play is something that you think has a decent shot of playing out, or if you just see the value here as potential value, I think that there's decent sized potential, and for now, it's a fairly conservative price. So I'm still quite positive on this one. Energy fuels. Now, I think I did a video on this one, but now that I'm here, I can't remember. I know it is one that a lot of people like to ask about, and I was very cautious on it a year ago. Why was that? Well, because I view the price of vanadium collapsing as a risk because it did seem to run up a bit with vanadium, and now that happened, so it's not that much of a risk anymore. Section 232 was another risk, and the Nuclear Fuel Working Group, which is the extension of 232, is still an up in the air question and could really take this one either way. So I would say I've moved from negative to more neutral on this one. I still think that very few people talk about the fact that it is more of a third or fourth quartile producer, and it was producing, and they are stopping producing. And that is a good thing because you don't want to produce to lose money. But it's everyone says they're low cost, but look at the all-in costs. So yes, was kind of negative, moved to slightly, and now kind of in neutral again when comparing it with the others of its size. So fission. People asked me about fission, and I was not super positive. People would say, yeah, it's high, super high grade and shallow, and yes, it is. But my primary concern was shallow, but under a lake. Now, the underground plan helps there, and so that kind of is reducing the well, part of my concern was permitting, but this kind of helps potentially reduce that. Now, I also thought it had a bit of a premium valuation relative to its peers and risk before. I think that that has diminished as it has moved down, well, I guess probably more than the other two. And so that is the price has made me less negative. Now, I don't own it yet, but I'm not as against it as I may have sounded when I did my video. Now, I do still think that it makes better sense because you could save on a mill and on competition if this project gets developed with NexGen. Now, I don't know if it'll be NexGen that buys it or if it's going to be some third party, but I still think that they have value to each other. And the pricing of really all of them at this point has become much closer together so that I don't have a clear favorite. Goviex, another one that, well, was kind of controversial last time around. A lot of people fought me on a lot of things and said I didn't know what I was talking about when it comes to price and incentive price and whatever. And that's still partially up in the air because I know they've been talking about how they're cutting costs and making it work with lower uranium, and Daniel Major has been talking about making it work with 50. Maybe they can. Maybe they can. I'm just not sure that that's a priority. Of course, I would think that getting costs down is a good thing, but I just don't know if there's that huge need or if trying to force it into production as soon as possible is the play when you look at what's out there. But who knows? Maybe it is. And if that's their strategy, okay. Now, I know that they said they would do a bunch of things, and I also understand why they couldn't or wouldn't want to, in the end, do what they didn't do. Yeah. But the point is, they keep saying that they're going to get the DFS done, and I get why they don't, because it's not good forever, and so they want to do it closer to when they actually might be going into production. But the point is, they keep saying it, and if you look at the presentation, they just kicked it 1 year down the road, which again makes sense, but they haven't managed to, or they haven't proven anything that they can cut the costs or whatever. So they keep referencing the old numbers and talking about new numbers that they haven't proven. And that's my main question on Goviex. Because in the end, despite when they say that they can be in production or will be in production, they're going to wait for the price, which makes sense. But this was a source of a bunch of questions last time because of what they were saying versus what they could be doing. So I still see the appeal. I just wonder when they say things, and I definitely see the appeal. I just have other favorites. NexGen, again, I'm more positive, and on a relative basis, maybe slightly more positive, but that's mainly because the price is down 40%. Again, this is the best deposit probably in the world of any commodity, but it's uranium and it's in Canada, so I'm still cautious about when it will be in production. Paladin. Okay, so this one is one where the story has completely changed. Now, the story that I thought it was something that was trying to price a potential for a quick restart. And while it may be quicker than its peers, it's still very much not what I was thinking. I was wrong on my frame of reference of what Paladin is. The startup will be longer and further out than I was assuming. I was thinking, well, maybe I was thinking conservatively from the uranium macro view, but I was thinking maybe 6 months and it was open. I was not really picturing the timeline of 2023, and that's bad on me. I should have known better. I should have known that it would take longer. But now it's looking like first, once the price gets to a more sensible place, they're going to do a definitive feasibility study. That'll take 9 months. Then it'll take them they'll need to spend $80 million, and then they will need to ramp up, and that'll take them another year. So it's not as quick as I was thinking. Also, selling their secondary asset makes it not exactly a multi-mine development story, as they do have they do have Michelin, but my point is that they did have 2 mines on care and maintenance. They could have been a multi-mine producer, and that is not the case anymore. So whatever I was thinking before, this new, well, at this point, it's a very different risk reward setup from what it was before. And this is completely ignoring the fact that the price is completely different and the share count is completely different. Bottom line, Paladin is completely different from what it was before. Plateau. Okay, so now this one's a bit complicated because I'm still very positive about their potential. Few mines out there, and there are a few that have more potential, obviously the massive ones, but few can produce this much at this cost like Plateau's project. Now again, it still needs to be shored up a bit, and its price is much lower. So I'm much more enthusiastic about the potential based on its now much lower price. Now, what changed, however, is now they have these claims that are in question. And while this is an up in the air issue, I don't know which way it's going to go. The CEO says that he thinks that they will get him back. And so if that's what he thinks, maybe that's accurate, but there's still a bit of a question mark there. So either way, at this market cap, even if they don't get the claims back, you look at the uranium they have and the geology, and if they can shore it up. Again, it's the same questions as before, but this project is the potential to be one of the type of thing that a Cameco would potentially be interested in. Because if you look after what they have now, they're going to want some low cost. And this is the type of thing. Now, on the flip side, the uranium prices, well, the uranium sector has turned back to nobody cares, and the lithium has also gone down a bunch. Now, my question is, or my annoyance, I guess you can say, is how much they seem to still be focused on lithium. Now, I get it. It makes sense because the government is still needs to put some policy in place for them to produce uranium. But the lithium focus is, I don't know, not grinding my gears, but something similar. The government, that's a whole other story. But the point is, I'm much more positive on the value here and the price, and especially now you look at what they can have in lithium and what they can have in uranium, and ridiculous amount of value, but they seem to be focusing on lithium, which is not the point for me. So in terms of some general thought changes, most things the price has declined, and so most of those things I'm more positive. Now also in terms of my general thinking, I have more so been looking uh, less at speed and uh, low cost cash flow and more at what the market might think in terms of what is strategic value, what types of projects basically will be wanted in a different type of market. Also, generally, I'm more bullish on the uranium price, and that kind of goes along with this because last year I was kind of thinking of a more prolonged cycle, and now I think by the day it's looking like higher prices, but still not guaranteed to be super spike price, but we'll see when we get there. But I'm basically generally more bullish on the uranium price. So thoughts on well, all of the US based projects. 232 didn't go well, obviously. And so the premium that was being valued on US pounds of uranium has diminished. Now, I don't know if all of that premium should be from 232 or if some of the premium is on perceived cost structure or familiarity. Who wants to go to an African desert when you can have an American desert? So that could be the source of some premium. Now, we still wait on the nuclear fuel working group, and we'll have to see how that goes. And again, this could be a two-way risk. I think more so it has, I don't know what people are pricing in at this point, so I can't really judge that too well. And I know I can't really generalize here. I could, but I don't want to because there's tons of projects and tons of different permitting and timeline questions and whole cost structures. So it's harder for me to say anything general about the US based producers, but this is just what I'm trying to do. Many of them are ISR low cost, low capex. And the thing about ISR and the smaller projects is they seem, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, I'm saying they are more suited to focusing on making money and cash flow rather than being relevant to the world. Now, you don't need to be relevant to make money. You don't need to make money to be relevant. But it's just a way of looking at it. So if there is no nuclear fuel working group action, then we will finally get to the point in the US where uranium is uranium and no premium or discount to US pounds. And projects will have to stand on their own merits. Now, on all explorers, the one thing I'll say is I didn't really want to go near looking at them before in terms of because I'm not a geologist and so I don't want to I didn't want to focus on that. I kind of wanted to look at the projects and strategic values that they may have been associated with. But here we're getting to the point, and some of this is due to some steps in growth and some other things, but we're getting to the point where I'm looking ahead and I'm seeing more and more of an argument for the value in explorers. Now, most of the reading that I've been doing recently has been looking at explorers and having some trying to figure out what's what in that segment. So more positive in general on explorers. So that's all for today. Remember, this is just my opinion and not investment advice. I think this video has great potential to be the new most disliked video because it is the unique opportunity for me to insult multiple people's favorite uranium stock and have it all be in one video. So I hope I didn't, but again, multiple opinions make a market, and have a great day.